Hello and welcome to this episode of Inside the Piranha Club with me, Rebecca Clancy.
And me, Ben Hunt.
And me, Mark Van Bryans.
And we are going to be taking a look back at the Miami Grand Prix, which was a very eventful weekend. Do Mercedes have it their own way? Are McLaren back in the title fight? And do any of the fans over here actually care at all about super clipping, harvesting, charging, or any of the above? Right, let's get into it. Mark, you're back from Miami. I'm still there. Ben, you've been enjoying yourself in the garden. MMB, how are you feeling? How's the jet lag?
Not too bad. Actually, it's quite depressing that Ben looks the most tanned and bronzed of the three of us. But yeah, it's not too bad at all. Thank you. And it was
I don't tan.
Well, there you go. That's the Irish blood in you. It's a great race weekend, wasn't it? Like, I thought from top to bottom, really, I enjoyed every moment of it in terms of the track stuff, and we did a lot of the off-track stuff as well, Beck. And yeah, I think they've really got it down to a T now in that part of the world to make that Grand Prix what they want it to be.
Do you get that feeling when you step off the plane that there's a Grand Prix? I always think that's a really good measure of any race. You step off the plane and you know there's a Grand Prix happening this weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. As I was going to say, I've been to every Grand Prix now that they've held in Miami. And I think the first year it very much had that feeling that it was the hospitality race and it was about the corporates. And I think this year was the first year I really felt like it was for the fan, and there is just stuff everywhere. And if you've not been to Miami, there is a lot of construction going on. To cover up all the construction, they put up these like enormous banners on the side of the skyscrapers, and they're all F1 related. So from the second you step off the plane in the airport, F1 is everywhere. You're driving into the city, it's just, you cannot miss it. I mean, I think I've seen Charles Leclerc's face is about 100 metres high, advertising everything left, right and centre. And then they built this fan zone on South Beach, which they've never done before. And I made the decision to go and watch the race from there on Sunday because I wanted to. It was, I had a pass to go into the track, and I was in the track on Friday doing some stuff for 5 Live and the FT and Sector. It's been an incredibly busy week. But I wanted to go and watch it with the fans. And I also wanted to get a bit of the Apple experience, which I didn't really get because it's just F1 TV, basically. But anyway, it was amazing. It was absolutely packed. So the race obviously got moved forward to 1 o'clock from 4 o'clock. Which was a very sensible decision, I thought. A lot of common sense had. We knew that the storms were coming. The lightning is the big issue, obviously, with the cars. And we knew the contingency meetings were happening all weekend. And they made the call on Saturday, and it was a very good idea. Clearly, everybody got the message because the fan zone was absolutely packed, and they loved the race. All of the overtakes, however artificial they are, and quite frankly, I think I don't care anymore, just like I didn't really care about DRS by the end. They clapped and cheered every single one, and they didn't know how charged the battery was. They didn't care how charged the battery was. They didn't care why it was happening. They only cared that it was happening. And the atmosphere was incredible. The support for every single team there, honestly, I couldn't tell you. There was love for Kimi, there was love for the McLarens, there was love for Aston Martin. Fair play to you if you support Aston Martin at the moment. That's a hardcore. That's like being a West Ham fan, is it?
Yeah,
you go Wolves, I went West Ham. There you go. Some might have said Spurs, but my brother-in-law might kill me. But it was absolutely, honestly, the atmosphere was incredible. And not only did they all stay and they all watched the race. Nobody moved. I'm serious. We had an absolute deluge of rain. Nobody left. We all just moved because it's obviously so hot. They have a lot is undercover. So we were just all undercover anyway. Everyone stayed. And then when the race was finished, no one moved. Everybody wanted to hear what the drivers had to say, the top 3. Everybody wanted to watch the podium. It was honestly amazing. And it really made me look at it and think, okay, this is anecdotal. It's one fan zone in Miami. While the race is on, and the track is not near Miami, it's a decent 45 minutes away. They loved it. They absolutely loved it.
Beck, I've got a question. Was it free, the fan zone, for them to go and enjoy, or did they have to have a ticket?
No, it was free. And actually, Mark and I spoke to Katharina Novak, who's the president of the Miami GP, and she earlier in the week, and she said that she wanted it to be free because she wants to reduce as much friction as possible. And she was saying that from their data, they could see that a lot of people who had signed up were fairly new to F1. But I'm like, great. Well, that's just a brilliant way to get more fans in. But I ended up, as you do, we're all kind of sat around tables and standing around and whatever. And you just end up chatting. And actually, some people were not new at all. Some people had been fans for a really long time, and they were very happy that there was suddenly a lot more interest in America. Some were fairly new, had come through from Drive to Survive. But they also hate being called Drive to Survive fans. They're like, we're just
Yeah.
F1 fans. Like, stop calling us Drive to Survive fans. And also, the other thing that they were saying is they sometimes feel like they get patronized, which I completely get, because they're like, we just want to understand the sport. Okay, we're new to it, but like, please just treat us how you treat any other F1 fan. And do you know what? They're absolutely right, because even the new ones I was speaking to, I shouldn't even say even, but the new ones I was speaking to, they knew what they were talking about. They absolutely got it. And yeah, I mean, I honestly absolutely loved it. And I think one of the problems, which we've all said before, is you get a bit stuck in your own bubble, don't you, in Formula One? You get these, certainly journalists on the ground, who go to every single race and lose perspective on life, quite frankly. But I also think within Formula One, if you don't get out of the paddock and bother to go and see what is happening on the ground, all the other stuff that's going on, speaking to the fans, which, to be fair to F1 in itself, they do. But I think I really wanted to go down just to get a bit of a feeling for it. As I say, I totally appreciate it's anecdotal, but it made me think, actually, have we got it a bit wrong inside our little F1 bubble? And, your rant then about your moan about the commentary. I was actually ended up talking to a couple of commentators, and they were like, oh, I'd never want to say the word super clipping again. And it's like, and they don't want to, and they don't want to have
Well,
to be explaining it.
Then don't do it.
And they aren't actually doing it as much. I mean, as I said, I was in the comments box with 5 Live on Friday, and I don't think we said the word super clipping once. Thank God. But it was really interesting, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And hello to everyone I met, and also told about the podcast. Yeah, so I thought it was brilliant.
Always
really,
working.
really enjoyed it. And I think actually, for all of the overtakes, it was a brilliant race. It was probably the best Miami Grand Prix we've had in the 5 years that we've had it. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I might never go to the track again.
Really? Just go to
Well,
Miami.
live in the fan
unfortunately,
zone.
it's a hazard of the job. But yeah, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, look, that's really encouraging to hear, because I think that was the one thing that was missing. A lot of local fans were priced out. It did feel like it was the corporate race. There was all the stories in the first year of the food running out and not doing a very good job to service those clients. And then there was a bit of a row back, and, we're trying to do something for the casual fan. But I don't ever felt like it really delivered on that front. I remember the food being quite expensive. I remember the luxury, like the Paddock Club, being great and really looking after those sort of people, the fake marina and all that nonsense. But I felt like the normal fan, if you like, was kind of left behind in the initial thought process. And it's good that they're part of it now, albeit not at the track, but still, you've got to start building that relationship with the city and also the fan base. So it makes a lot of sense to do so. So it's encouraging to hear. I thought it was a good race. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, you guys always say that I'm moany and stuff, but actually I was quite positive. There was some stuff. Sorry, what was that?
I was shocked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, look, there was some stuff that was pretty pony. I find the grid these days very crap. And I get the list of celebrities and all that sort of stuff. And
you mean literally the grid at the start, like all the razzmatazz before lights out?
Yeah, I don't enjoy that so much, and seeing all those people squished in, and I always get worried about being stuck on the grid and the reoccurring nightmare I had. But that's by the by. I just think that sort of stuff can be done away with, or just rethought, and make it more fan focused, because it does look after the VIPs, but not really the fan. It's a bit crap. But apart from that, no, the race was good. I thought the start was good. Middle bit was a bit of a slow burn, and then, exciting at the end. And this goes back to what I was saying before, like, it's still racing. It's just different to what it was before. We've just got to embrace it, and people fighting for the lead and fighting for position is good. It doesn't matter how it's done. I think the biggest difficulty, and this goes back to my original moan, was the commentary and trying to explain it every single time, and there's still a little bit of that megajoule talk.
If you remember what a megajoule is, Ben, remember?
If you do, yeah. Well, there was other elements as well, but we won't go into those.
But I don't think it is on every commentary.
Say again?
I don't think it is on every comment. I listen to F1 TV on Sunday, and obviously I'm in with 5 Live on Friday, and they're not talking about it anymore.
No, I'm sure that's that's a sensible order being passed down from the top. I mean,
narrowed it down for who Ben was criticising there, though, wasn't it?
But well, it's interesting that you talk about people criticising, because I was under the impression that there was a little bit of sanitisation going on. I don't know if this is something that you experienced in terms of drivers being asked about regulation change, and every single time that there's a negative thing, it kind of gets deleted from the F1 archive or doesn't seem to make the light of press conference transcript. Is that something that you've spotted? Because if so, I think that's a little bit of a dangerous game to be in.
It's not making... They do say stuff in press conferences, don't they? And it's not making the transcript. So if you're not in the room, then it seems to be the case. It also feels a little bit like they're not being pressed on TV about these things. It felt very sanitized in Miami, the drivers' comments, to the point that, I was putting the script together for this podcast. I've not really pulled out any of the drivers' comments, to be honest, because they're all a bit ugh.
Noise.
Well then
Thanks.
I find that incredible that we're in this situation. Yes, we've had the rule change. Yes, we've had the improvements over the last couple of weeks, and all those meetings that took place. But we can't have a situation where we're sanitising the output from the drivers. If the journalists are asking and they're speaking on the matter, then that has to be recorded in the official transcript. You can't have elements where that's being deleted. Surely not, because that's sort of trying to hide stuff.
I don't disagree with that, but in a way I'm a bit like, don't the drivers just need to get on with it a bit? Like, stop moaning all the time. Like, have constructive conversations behind the scenes, but honestly, just get on with your job.
Where do you draw the line, though? Because, if a driver's critical of another driver, do you take that out of the transcript?
Well, no,
if they're critical
that's
of the FIA, do you take that out of the transcript? You can't have it that they're just critical of F1 or the topic of conversation is boring and we've done it and let's move on, because it still has to be recorded in that official press conference. So, that's, if indeed that is the case, and it sounds to me like that's what you're saying, then I find that
I don't have proof of it, but it's certainly there's been comments in the paddock about it.
Yeah. So
can we post-announce that as Ben's 1 minute moan?
We could. Well, look, it probably went on for a minute.
It was definitely longer than a minute.
Yeah.
Right, well, should we get into the race? Because it was a good one, wasn't it? It was a sprint race and a full race, as per usual. Lando Norris, the McLarens. Let's start there.
Yeah.
We are going to come to the fact that Mercedes have now won all 4 of the races so far. But let's start with McLaren, because they have a bit of a track record, I would say, in the last 18 months, that every single upgrade they bring is absolutely superb. They've clearly not taken a break with the enforced gap that we had from Bahrain and Saudi being cancelled. Absolutely brilliant. Lando Norris, lights out to flag in the sprint. Brilliant from them. Absolutely challenging. And then in the race, probably could have won it. And he was very disappointed to finish second on Sunday, which, quite frankly, is what we like to see. Because if you're not winning, you shouldn't be happy.
Well, I think. I think.
Hang on a minute. I thought about this press conference thing, and it was pretty. It was rubbish after the race, wasn't it? Like, you got 2 flat McLaren drivers pissing and whinging. Sorry, can't say pissing. Whinging about not winning the race. And then you've got this young bundle of energy who's wonderful. I could listen to him forever.
Who,
just
Kimi?
On. Yeah.
But why would McLaren finish second and third?
They shouldn't be happy, should they?
Well, no, I'm not saying happy, but it's just that whole kind of demeanour on the podium. Look, I just think you should just have the winner. Let's just do the winner now. From now on in, forget the other 2. There's no point, because if this goes on all year, where you've got 2 misery guts on the podium, do away with it. Just have one. Just have the winner, and that'll do.
Mark, do you agree?
No, of course I don't. Podium's a podium for a reason. It's meant to be a podium.
Yeah, but what's the point of having a podium unless you've got someone that's really genuinely happy to be third or second?
But why? Lando Norris is the reigning world champion. Why should he be happy with second?
No, I'm not.
But in a weird
Well,
way,
look, it was more about the
in a weird
mood
way,
and
Ben, I'm going to shout over you here. I'm going to shout. In a weird way, I think he would quietly have been happy to finish that Grand Prix second, because they scored more points in Miami than the other races we've had so far this year combined. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the progress is there. He's won the sprint from start to finish. Piastri started 7th in the race and finished 3rd. I don't think they can go onto the podium and say, "Oh, I'm delighted to do this," because the sport's about winning, isn't it? It's like a football manager coming out and saying they're happy with the draw, like Pep Guardiola coming out last night saying he was happy to draw at a tough place like Everton.
Tell you what,
But
my
we know
6-year-old
he's
was
not.
absolutely delighted with the draw.
Exactly. But I
Arsenal
think
supporter.
with McLaren, what a progression that is in such a short space of time. Like,
but
we
hang on,
spoke on the preview pod about it.
But is it?
Of course it is. From where they weren't starting races 3 races ago.
I know, but I think that was just. I mean, it was really desperately unlucky, wasn't it? It wasn't the car had always looked quick. I don't think. Yes, they got it all right and everything was great, and it's going to be hailed as the revival. But I don't think things were as bleak as they first seemed. I know
Piastri didn't start the
had a
first 2
difficult start.
races.
Piastri didn't start the first 2 races, but
Pretty
I still
bleak.
think there was pace in the car. It wasn't a how
do we know he didn't start the race?
It's an upturn in results, obviously, but it's not a turnaround. A turnaround is like when you've actually gone out there and been rubbish and trundled around the back. I think that we need to put it into
But he
perspective.
didn't even have the opportunity
yes,
to trundle around at the back. He didn't start. It is a turnaround.
Yeah, I know. No,
it's a huge McLaren turnaround.
It's not. A turnaround is when things are really bad and like you're on the track. We didn't have anything.
Seriously,
to
what is worse than not
by.
starting a race?
As the double constructors champions, not being able to start a race.
Well, no, but there's a difference, isn't there, between what a turnaround is? A turnaround is if you're performing badly. They didn't perform at all.
Well, that's exactly. It's even worse.
Well, no, it's not. It's not. A turnaround is going from bad to good in the sense of the performance was bad. You can't judge that first 2 races for Piastri as a performance because it wasn't a performance. It didn't even start.
I think we're going to agree to disagree on this one. Shall we move on to Mercedes, because they haven't had a turnaround?
I'm curious as to. I'm curious as to the comments.
You Google the dictionary definition of a turnaround and let us know. Right, let's go on to Kimi Antonelli, because he has won 3 of the 4 races now, a hat-trick for the 19-year-old. He
remarkable
wasn't great.
Turnaround from last year where his form wasn't particularly good.
Oh, there
Exactly.
you go. Maybe that is a turnaround. Or also just his second season, he's no longer a rookie. He is genuinely taking the fight to George Russell, isn't he? And I think with 18 races to go, there's been lots of question marks over whether or not he can sustain this consistency. I think a big problem for Mercedes this weekend was George Russell's attitude. I'm going to say it. I like the guy.
Oof.
But I think for him to come out and say, I don't like this track, is a big, big no for me. I don't think you give your competitors an inch. I also don't think it's a very good idea to say, I don't like this track. I think because Antonelli doesn't have that. It's only his second season. Every track for him is still fairly new. So he doesn't have anything in his head. Russell has let Miami get in his head. He had a rubbish weekend, let's say. He's now 20 points behind his teammate in the championship fight. Yes, it's still a long way to go. But actually, Russell was off all weekend, and that's not a good move. I think Kimi might have got into his head. Mark?
Yeah, I mean, you said there about Kimi taking the fight to George, but he isn't having to, really, is he, at the moment? He's just better than him. Like, George was nowhere near him, especially on the Sunday, I thought. And we keep saying here, don't we, can Kimi keep it going? At the moment, he can. Had a little bit his starts are obviously the issue, but that car is so much better than everyone else at the moment, it doesn't really matter. And then once the race got restarted, and once him and Lando swapped positions in the pit stops, Lando closed in on him a little bit, but he dealt with that bit of pressure and then just drove off for a third win of the season. Like, that's a very smart, educated head on very young shoulders, and he's doing a great job, isn't he? And I suppose that confidence will only grow the more these results keep coming. Now, will there be moments where that youthfulness and the exuberance of that shows and it costs him points this season? Almost certainly. But if he's got a big enough lead when that happens, then it doesn't really matter to him, does it?
Ben?
He completely agrees.
No, I don't actually.
No, I knew he did it. I could see from his face he absolutely doesn't.
I thought George was was honest and coming out and saying he didn't like the track. I've got no issue with that. Like, there's tracks that I don't like, and you know, he knows it better than anyone else. So, if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it. That's fine.
But you're not fighting for a world championship. I mean, there's plenty of races, tracks I
Neither
don't
is
like,
George.
but it's only because of the traffic, mostly.
I thought that it was honest. He admitted that the direction of the car, in terms of copying the setup that Antonelli had, was more beneficial, and that they made more progress in that sense. I think that we've got Canada coming next, which is a track that he does like. So let's judge.
Prize been there, wasn't it, last year for him?
It was. I mean, look, it's you had the McLaren incident, didn't you, last year, when Lando was trying too hard and went in the back of his teammate. But I think that we judge George after Canada and see where it's only 20 points. I mean, and also I always allude to this, but that Antonelli wobble in the middle of the year last year may well come back. But I think
would it be a massive turnaround for Russell to now go on and win the championship?
No, not a massive turnaround at all. No, definitely not. It might be a turnaround.
Well, he starts the races, so apparently that's how it counts as a turnaround.
Of course, of course. I mean, absolutely. That's the turnaround.
Has Ferrari had a turnaround? Charles Leclerc.
Negatively.
I mean, terrible. Ignoring for now the terrible last lap that Charles Leclerc experienced, they actually weren't too. At one point, I genuinely thought Leclerc could win that race.
Pit stops were a little bit iffy, weren't they?
A little bit Ferrari, let's say.
Yeah, and also
and strategy was a little bit Ferrari.
Yeah.
Not very much so. I mean, he was fuming with that, wasn't
weekend.
He? Ben, do you remember last year in this race when Lewis properly started the crack side to properly appear with the team, wasn't it? In terms of the race engineer and stuff, when he was saying, "Why don't you all go and make a cup of tea before you make your decisions about turning them around and stuff?" And
tea when you're at it.
Yeah, the strategy thing's still playing out, isn't it? I mean, it felt to me a little bit like while Charles was up there again, and like you said, Bec, apart from that last, he was unlucky towards the end, but for Lewis had a really off and quiet weekend. I mean, put it this way, if you're watching this, you'll see my hair has just been freshly washed, and that's because taking the dog for work earlier on, a bird absolutely shat on my head. Now, that brings you...
You just dropped that into conversation. How is it linked to Lewis Hamilton?
Because it brings you good luck. It brings you good luck.
Washed,
and that's what he needs. I use Fee shampoo, so it's much better than mine.
Okay, so aside from your wife's shampoo, Lewis Hamilton needs a bird to poo on his head.
He needs.
That's not really good luck. It's just what people say to make you feel better.
Well, maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs an arm around his shoulder, and because he was nowhere. He felt like he was nowhere near it to me this weekend, which is more of the 2025 Lewis Hamilton than the 26 Lewis Hamilton. I think it's also doesn't help them that McLaren are now on it more than they were. That Max was on it more than he was, although he had a Mad Max race, didn't he, for him? I don't know if that's the rules, by the way, on the regulation tweaks. I think that is just the upgrades and things like that that brought those teams a bit closer in. But
I've got to come back to the bird poo. Was it a lot? How far from home were you?
I was quite away from home, and it was a big old dollop.
Seagull?
Did the whole touching, and then was like, oh. So yeah, used the dog's water bowl to wash it off, and then gave it a proper rinse when we got back. That's what Lewis needs. What more can I say?
Right. Is that what Max Verstappen needs as well? Because, let's start at the beginning of his race. What a catch. That spin was absolutely brilliant. Charles Leclerc did a similar thing as well, but sadly the car was a bit more damaged. Red Bull, actually not as far behind as they have looked for the first three races, were a bit more in the fight. Where did Max Verstappen's qualifying come from? Because second, to end up on the front row for the race, is certainly not what any of us were expecting this weekend. Ben, that was an...
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit... it was a little bit of a surprise.
Unfortunately, wasn't it?
Was a bit of a turnaround. I mean, look, people are going to get ever so bored of this now. Can we go back to the bird poo chat?
It's the most astonishing drop-in ever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm still confused by the professionally washed. That's wonderful.
I love
Well,
that you had
normally
to
I
use
just
your
stick
wife's
to my own.
shampoo, like yours wouldn't be good enough.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you got to look after yourself, haven't you, these days when you've got as much hair as I have?
Well,
You spend all that money on a hair transplant, Mark. You got to you got to keep it look after it.
That is one hell of a turnaround.
yeah, that is, yeah. Biggest
Thank you.
comeback
There we go. We've
since
agreed. Nicky Lauda.
biggest comeback since McLaren, that is. Oscar Piastri. I'm curious as to your T-shirt, by the way. What is the Korean Series Champions 2023?
Baseball.
Oh, okay, right.
Everybody needs to now be watching this on YouTube. Right, Ben, let's get back to it. Max
What are we talking
Verstappen,
about? We're
biggest
talking about,
turnaround since Oscar
yeah,
Piastri.
yeah. No, solid qualifying. I've got to, yeah. Look, I thought he had a good race. There's one element that slightly puzzles me, and that is when he's coming through the midfield. He had that spin, as you say, and he managed to keep it pointing in the right direction. And then he kind of gets, you can almost see the red mist, can't you, when he just gets his elbows out and just goes hell for leather. And it's great to watch, but I do wonder whether some of the drivers in the midfield battle just move over for him, or whether he's actually fighting for position, because
Carlos Sainz came on the
know.
radio and said, didn't he? He fights differently in the midfield.
Yeah.
Almost expecting them to just clear out of his way. It felt like that was the suggestion from Sainz, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I have to say, I did watch that and thought, yeah, that's a bit like, I know he's angry. He was driving angry, frustrated, but you shouldn't expect it. These are fighting for position. So I thought that he got a little bit of an easy ride from some of them. And of course, Williams was tried
Mark,
to
so Liam Lawson, that move with Liam Lawson, it was a bit sticky at the start. And then it looked like Liam Lawson just sort of moved out of the way almost when he realised that it was Max Verstappen. There was a bit on commentary where they said, Verstappen just has the pace. But there is a niggle that actually the younger team of, Racing Bulls, who Liam Lawson drives for, the sister team of Red Bull, we've seen it before in years gone by. He just moved out the way, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, this is the one reason Zach Brown will keep going on and on about not having B squads or second teams or however you want to call it.
I agree with him.
You can manage a race like, I mean, was it Singapore when they sent Danny Rick was driving for VCarb or whatever they were called then, and they sent him out to get the fastest lap of the race to take it away from, I assume, Lando at the time. My memory's not great. It was Lando, wasn't it?
It was Lando.
Because they thought the title race was going to go right down to the wire. They sent out, let's be honest, in his last race before he was sacked by Racing Bulls.
Even though they wouldn't tell us it was his last race.
Yeah, they brought him into the pits, put fresh tyres on and said, go and set the fastest lap just to steal a point from one of a different team's rival. Now, that's not ethical, really, is it? I mean, it's not out of the laws of the sport, but it's not ethical. As is, like you say, you got Max coming by, Liam, just, waving by. But when you've got a McLaren or Ferrari behind you, make sure you make it as difficult as possible. It's not ideal for the sport in that regard. I suppose they can always dress it up as it's racing. There's no proof that it isn't. But sometimes it does come across as quite obvious, and it does leave a bit of a sour taste sometimes when you see it happening quite so obvious.
Sour taste, another special livery for Racing Bulls.
Is that the name of the is that the name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, it was the summer one, wasn't it? Summer drink.
Like
every race feels like a special livery. Every race, special livery.
At least this one, you
Bulls.
could tell the difference. The bright yellow.
You could.
Cadillac, no idea.
That was a strange one, right? I didn't really spot the difference.
I thought they'd pick their flag like the American flag or something and go all in, but.
Also, just a quick one, guys, on Red Bull. Isaac Hadjar, I know we spoke earlier on about the youthfulness of Kimi Antonelli. That was a remarkable to see him sat in that car just basically thumping the steering wheel for a good few minutes, wasn't it? Like, is that just again? Is that does he need to calm himself down, Ben, or is that a good way to react to these things?
No, but I don't know. Everyone has their own way. I think that he's always been like that in his career. It shouldn't change now. I mean, it's done him so well. So to get to Formula One, that's just part of it, isn't it? And I was watching it, and I how do I put this without sounding weird? I actually enjoyed the outpouring of frustration because you don't often get to see drivers' emotions, do you? They get off, they keep their helmet on.
Hang on,
and
hang
start-
on, hang on. I'm going to call you out on this one.
It was
So
lashing out.
it's fine for Isaac Hadjar to crash in the strangest place going through the chicane and then sit in the car for 2 minutes, thumping the steering wheel. But it's not okay for the McLaren drivers to finish second and third and be grumpy about it.
No, because no, that these
They
two
didn't.
things.
They should have got on and thumped
Just
each other.
thumping each other. Look,
These two things are totally different.
you've just said you love seeing the outpouring of their feelings.
Yeah, but like that was, but that was in race. Like his frustration at crashing out, and that's.
Hang on, the
we
podium
can't
is so
dial that
soon
out.
after. The adrenaline is still running.
And I'm talking about the podium. The podium is a celebration.
Not if you
Well
didn't win,
done
it's
for
not.
finishing. Well done for finishing the race. You finished in the top 3. Go and pretend to be happy in front of all these people. But like you
Have
were
you
talking about
ever been
the
unhappy when someone handed you a bottle of free champagne? Is that what's wrong?
No. But it's not that. It's like the whole champagne. The whole podium moment is supposed to be a celebration of the end of the race for everyone to enjoy. If you've got moody individuals that are unhappy that not winning, yes, I take that. That's part and parcel of the.
Mark is pointing at Ben.
Look, I just think the two things are totally different. And
No,
that
I
was
think
raw.
if you're an elite athlete and you haven't won, if you're happy about not winning, you're never going to be a world champion.
So, but do you think there should be the Parc Fermé interviews and the podium celebration if you're not happy? Because
Yeah,
they get up there and
absolutely.
they do the champagne thing.
How
Is that
many
fake?
years have you and I spent covering Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, even in his championship winning years? When he wasn't winning, he was the grumpiest person ever to talk to.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
absolutely think that is fine because
Yeah,
if
that
you're
is
not
fine.
winning,
That is fine. But yeah, that is fine. But they're not on the podium. And
But this
we're
is
talking
elite
about the show
sport.
earlier. We're talking about the show earlier. This is like the big celebration of the end of the race. And if you've got one person who's happy and the rest are really all miserable, it's just not the right message, is it?
Well,
Just
I
do
agree
the
to
one.
disagree.
Just do the winner.
I do get it is a bit that we now have Parc Fermé interviews, then we can hear what they're saying in the green room, then they go on the podium, then they do the press conference. That's a bit because that's when
Yeah. Maybe
that
that's
thing
where
of
it's all
finishing
gone wrong.
second and third and being grumpy, you're having to do it probably 3 or 4 times in the media. Whereas actually, maybe at Parc Fermé, you only interview the guy who's won the race, and then you do the podium and then the press conference. There are probably ways around it that would potentially make Ben happy, but that's easier said than done, isn't it?
Look, I watched it on TV, obviously at home, relaxed, enjoyed it. Thought Kimi was great, really, really great. And then you got these two miserable people moaning about not winning, and I'm like, that's not a good look, is it?
Right,
I
I
don't know.
love the mental side of sport, which I think is one of the reasons I like Formula One. And to hear from the drivers who have just climbed out of the car, the adrenaline is absolutely pumping. Their emotions are raw, and they haven't had any time to speak to their PR's team to be, told the media angles or anything. We get an absolutely unfiltered opinion of what they think. I think it's absolutely brilliant, and I wouldn't change it.
But when's the last time anyone there actually said anything that was like Max might say something good? And I'm not saying you judge it.
But I don't like what's good. I
Honestly.
just think it's an amazing insight into how like the mental strength, almost the fragility sometimes of an elite athlete. I think it's a real glimpse that you don't actually get in a lot of other sports.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that should be done away with. That's all still there. I mean, that's
But
the
you
interview
want
in
them
the
to
pen.
pretend to be happy.
No, I don't want them to pretend to be happy. I just don't think that they
You
should
just want
be
them to be happy.
interviewed.
Ben just wants everyone in the world to be happy, all right?
Absolutely. Now you've nailed it. I was just saying, I felt like we could have done with 5 minutes of Antonelli talking about his weekend, and we didn't need to listen to them. And this is such a moot point, but we didn't need to listen to them as part of the Jenson Button Parc Fermé interviews. It was just totally pointless. And I felt like it was a bit of a mood crusher after what was actually quite a good race.
Would you do this,
Ooh.
Ben? Here you go. We're making it a fan-led sport now. Maybe
Yeah.
when you send in your vote for the day, send us your questions for the drivers, and then instead of Jenson Button asking the questions, or Rosberg, or Brundle, or whoever it is, they get a couple of questions put to them from fans somewhere in the world.
No, definitely. No. We're
Ben
going
is
too
never
far
going to
now.
go for that.
Just one interview with the winner is fine. Then we can do the green room. I like that. I think that's a good addition.
That is great.
And
I do
then
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
then the podium celebration. It's a celebration. Let's do the celebration. And there we
Wow.
go.
Are you getting paid by F1?
No, no,
Only
no.
only positivity, please.
I'm saying that they should just forget about those crappy Parc Ferme interviews.
Just finally on the celebrations, have you had any other suggestions about what you're going to do with your ashes?
Oh no, I haven't actually. Yeah, no. No, I haven't. Is the answer.
We should start asking every driver that in Parc Ferme, see what they say.
Why not? Why not? You'll get quite a good, selection of articles. You get quite a selection of answers, which will make articles.
Might be a bit macabre given what they do for a living and how many drivers have died in the past doing this sport.
Possibly.
Yes, possibly. Right. Well, we do. Do we want to talk about anything else? Aston Martin is still rubbish. Haas is still somewhere in the midfield. Cadillac, we're Cadillac.
Williams.
Williams,
Good,
yeah,
good.
let's do Williams.
What a
They went on a
turnaround.
diet over the break.
Job done. We don't need to say anything else.
Yeah.
What do you want to say about Williams, Mark?
They were probably, I would say, probably up there in the top 2 or 3 teams to show improvements, weren't they? They were scoring points from a position where before they couldn't get the weight out of that car, they couldn't get it round in good time. Beat a team in Haas that was, probably the best of the rest for a while in those early races. So yeah, I thought Williams were great. Alpine worth a mention as well. Obviously Lewis had that run in with Colapinto, which was quite unfortunate, but even for Colapinto, that was a good outing for him. So yeah, I think coming away from Miami, Williams will be very, very happy, even though they didn't win, Ben.
Yes.
Ben, quickly on Colapinto, there was some suggestion over the weekend that he might not even see out the season, such has been his bad form. Miami seems to have come around at just the right time. Getting into silly season a bit early, are we?
No, I don't think so. I think it's always been the threat, hasn't it, at that team? Chopping and changing. You saw it last year with Doohan. He barely got a look in. So I think that it's just the nature of the beast. I think we've seen with Red Bull swapping drivers around. I think that whole we talk about football, don't we? Crossover, but that whole new manager, sack the manager, get a new one in. That attitude seems to have gone into Formula One a little bit with regards to driver lineup, and maybe there's something to be said for it. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much, but I think it's just part of Formula One. If you're not delivering, the pressure's on, and I think that is a team that has high aspirations and expectations, and unfortunately, they're not being met by either driver. Gasly a little bit unlucky at the weekend. I actually thought Colapinto did okay, didn't he? He had a bit of an altercation with Hamilton, but that seemed to be all fine and dandy at the end. He just needs to have a clean weekend and start scoring some decent points.
Yeah, finished 7th, his best finish of the year.
I don't know. I mean, who else would you put in? I mean, Paul
Alex
Aaron's
Dunn,
a good rider. Yeah, a good rider,
Irish
good
driver.
driver. Yeah, Alex Dunn. I suppose there are a few.
I think it depends a lot on as well. We spoke a lot. Me and Ben spoke back when you were on holiday about Alpine and the potential takeover, and that matters to Colapinto probably, doesn't it? If you get the money comes in and you're not necessarily relying on those sponsorship deals that he's got and the Latin America crowd that he brings in, that would weaken his position massively, wouldn't it? Because we all know Gasly's by far the best driver in that team. We know Colapinto will score points. We know he can go racing, but we also know the reason he's in F1 at the moment.
Well, and Renault own Alpine. Renault have a new CEO. The old one, Luca De Meo, was a massive Formula One fan. Apparently, the new one, not so much. What happens with the team? Is it sold? Do they move on Briatore, currently in charge there? There's actually quite a lot of uncertainty at Alpine at the moment. Right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered it, have we?
Yeah, there was a few things that I spotted, which was like the Nike deal with Cadillac. I don't think that there was too much news about that, but that seemed to be something which popped up over the weekend. Williams had the Avengers thing, which I didn't understand either. So there's quite a few partnerships. And
what don't you understand about the Avengers one? I can do that one quickly for you. They're making a Marvel comic, an Iron Man comic, that will feature James Vowles, Albon and Carlos Sainz fighting alongside Iron Man and a few of the other guys.
Wow.
So there's one for your kids as well, Bec.
Oh, I like it. Yeah,
Okay.
my 6-year-old will like that. And talk about partnerships. The big business side story this weekend was the fact that Adidas is going to do a deal with Red Bull, replacing Castor. So we'll see if that actually comes off. Not official yet, but that would be a big deal. Adidas obviously making big inroads into Formula One. Castor haven't got there first, but the deal is meant to be enormous.
Yeah, late to the party Adidas weren't they? But they came along with Mercedes and Audi, which makes a lot of sense. But they clearly see the market opportunities with Red Bull as well.
And Adidas obviously sponsoring Inter Miami, which is where you and I were on Saturday, Mark. Messi was there on Saturday, obviously. We saw him score. Or some of us didn't because I was getting a drink. Anyway, but he was also there at the track on Sunday. Nice little collaboration there. Thought that was
Sorry,
quite fun.
can we end on this? What a turnaround. That Inter Miami was 3-0 up and then lost 4-3 in stoppage time. And then they had an after
3-0
party,
up, right?
I couldn't
Were they 3-0 up?
Yeah.
In the first half.
Ridiculous.
4-3, last minute goal.
And then we were listening to the Black Eyed Peas that tonight's going to be a good night. I said to you tonight, Bec, imagine if that had happened at Old Trafford the next day, which in very
they
nearly
have an
did,
after party on the gangway in the stadium with a proper DJ. Everyone stays. It's very family friendly. Loads of little kids there as well. And tonight's going to be a good night. Comes on, and honestly, none of us could stop laughing.
Well, there was a lot of celebrating of not winning, which was interesting concept, isn't it?
Don't know where they get that from. Right, let's knock this one on the head. I think we've rambled on long enough, haven't we? We will be back for Canada, a firm favourite if you're not there because the logistics are horrific. 2 weeks' time, a nice little break now. I am going to go and lie by a pool. It has been an incredibly busy weekend. I will be back in the UK by the end of the weekend, which actually I'm quite looking forward to. In the meantime, if you have enjoyed this podcast, I can't even talk anymore. My brain has stopped working. If you have enjoyed this podcast, please do rate and review us. Please do also get in contact. We do love to hear from you. We are on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Inside the Piranha Club. But until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Cheers.